I made my own wholesaling challenge, I would absolutely keep driving for dollars as the very first step, because you're learning, A, you're building your own list, but B, you are literally learning what distressed properties look like. And it does change. Like I said, the lens of what distress is changes very quickly. When distressed properties start getting fixed, they're not distressed anymore. Just make offers. Last week alone, I made 16 offers on expired listings. 2 of them got accepted. Did? Yeah, I mean,
2 got accepted?
Just 2 of them did. Yeah,
amazing.
In fact, we're closing on one of them tomorrow and one of them on Tuesday. One's a duplex, one's a triplex. So nice. Those are the types of things that you just, I mean, it all comes in experience. Like all comes in time.
The DealMachine REI Podcast. Everything you need to know to get started in real estate investing.
Are you a registered agent, by the way, a real estate agent?
No.
Okay.
No.
So when you go on Zillow and you filter by expired listings, I did that search and I think that filter was gone for me. Are you saying that you found a filter there that would show you the expireds?
No. We have a realtor that brings us all the expired listings.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Good to clarify.
So you do have a realtor. Where did you meet this realtor?
This realtor is a friend to one of our acquisitions managers. And there had been some discussion of, hey, I'm working here. We're looking for this kind of thing. And he's like, well, I have this list of expired listings right here. And even had keys to some of these properties still. And so we were able to go in and look at them, walk the properties, make offers. And I did shoot lower than what was necessary, but both of the offers that we made got accepted.
When you're working with that realtor, do you have to show that realtor your bank account so that he knows you've got cash and are pre-qualified for a mortgage when you're making an offer like this?
Yes, you should give them a proof of funds before you start making offers. You should show proof of funds. Doesn't have to be your bank account, but you should have some proof that you've been pre-qualified to do something.
So what were your plans with these properties that you were making offers on from the realtor? Were you gonna take it down as a rental yourself, or were you going to flip it? Or
our intent, and still is our intent, is we're keeping both of these properties because they are going to be a triplex and a duplex, so they're extra doors for our portfolio. But when we talked about, hey, let's go get leads from realtors, expired listings from realtors, the intent was even we'll take them down and then turn and sell them to our list.
Okay.
So
got it.
Yeah, we would eventually, I guess that would be wholesaling, but you'd have to take it down yourself and sell it after the first transaction. But
yeah,
a lot of them were deals and we had margin.
So your first deal, what you did was called wholesaling. And for those that don't know, that's when you get a property under contract, you don't use your cash or money, and then you assign it to a flipper or hedge fund that does have cash and wants to buy that property at the amazing deal you locked it up at. So if you're going to make an offer through a realtor, typically I don't think you can assign those, right? So that you wouldn't really be able to wholesale those unless you did have the cash to take it down. So that's one reason why, if you don't have cash, look for the rundown houses. Might be a better option for you.
You can assign, even with a realtor, you can assign the contract still. And we've done that. We've done that where we get it under contract. The realtor that we work with knows what we do. He knows that we're wholesalers, but we also are investors now too. So when I go and look at a property, I'm looking at it for myself, but making sure that I have enough margin in that to have another exit strategy. So if it becomes, I don't have enough time to do this, or whatever the case may be, there's a symptom of the property that I don't like, I can turn and wholesale it. And he's aware of that and knows of that situation too. We have it in our contract with him that we can still assign the contract. So it can be done. I mean, realtors and wholesalers can have great relationships. Here, it's not that way. So I wouldn't say you could go into that with every realtor and then be okay with it.
Yeah, it's like there's some friction there because of maybe some misunderstandings about how each work and what value that each person provides. So that's really great to hear that you've got a great relationship with a realtor that knows how you guys operate and is willing to allow you to assign that contract with them. That's great. What's the other thing that you did to find leads besides looking for rundown houses and making offers on expired listings?
So when we first got started, obviously after you drive for dollars so many times and you've sent postcards so many times, you start to think of, you start to have some scarcity mindset going on of like, what am I going to do to get more leads? How do I get more leads? Coincidentally, you came into play when you guys launched List Engine. What I did, just playing around with List Engine, I found that you could pull a list of all the vacant properties in your zip code. Curiosity kills the cat. And so I pull a list of all the vacant properties, which was a ton, surprisingly. And I just started mail blasting all of those. And then my phone, I'm not even kidding, my phone would not stop ringing. And there would be days where from the time that the sun was up until the time the sun was down and through the evening, I got call after call after call after call from that. I'm like, holy cow, that was the golden nugget for what we were. Our problem at that time was I was worried that we weren't going to have enough leads to sustain doing wholesaling. We have a small market. Like our population in St. Joe is like 72,000. So it's a very small, you don't have a ton of like uncharted territory after you've driven every street in town. But there are a number of properties that are vacant that you don't even catch. You didn't see that. You can't tell there's a symptom that it's vacant. Maybe the landlord takes care of it. They mow the yard. They keep, that there's not boarded up windows. They keep it nice, but they don't want to rent it again. And that's what we started running into with this List Engine list of vacant properties. We'd go and look at these and I'm like, well, why don't you just rent it? I'm just done. I'm tired of doing this. I'm ready to sell off my portfolio. Man, like that opened the floodgates. And I mean, we did 73 wholesale deals in the first year, and it was literally driving for dollars and pulling that List Engine.
That's so interesting because St. Joe is not a big city. And so you had begun to have a scarcity mindset because you had found a lot of distressed properties and probably felt like you covered your whole city. Mm-hmm. And so you were wondering where you might be able to get more leads from next. And so then you were able to get a list of vacant properties, and then you started contacting those. So in future episodes, we'll talk about the ways of contacting, but I think you use direct mail, right?
Postcards, direct mail was our strategy.
You were making a 30-day challenge. Like, which way would you tell people to go first?
Drive for dollars.
Okay.
Hands down.
Why
because
is that?
That's teaching you how to identify distressed properties. I am partial to the boots on the ground mentality. I know a lot of people do this remotely, and I encourage, if you're successful in it and doing it remotely, do it remotely for sure. But there's so much education for a guy that had no knowledge base of what wholesaling was. The only knowledge I knew of real estate was rental properties and realtors. That was all I could tell you. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I know people rent properties. I couldn't tell you how they made money in it. And I know realtors sold properties and made commission, but that was the extent. So for me, going into this new world of wholesaling and assigning a contract, but what am I looking for? Well, you got to find distressed properties. What are distressed properties? Going out and looking at them, driving for dollars, and adding distressed properties to your own personalized marketing list was the most education I got in that short period of time, because you start seeing symptoms of that's a distressed house, that's a distressed house, that's a distressed house that you would not have known. You would not know that. You could just look around and be like, wow, this town is really dingy.
Yeah.
Well, no, those are all properties that are prospective leads. Now I know that. So now every time I drive anywhere I'm at, I'm like, well, there's another one. If I made my own wholesaling challenge, I would absolutely keep driving for dollars as the very first step, because you're learning, A, you're building your own list, but B, you are literally learning what distressed properties look like. And it does change. Like I said, the lens of what distress is changes very quickly. When distressed properties start getting fixed, they're not distressed anymore. When you start doing 73 transactions in a small town, that's 73 less houses that are distressed. You do that again the next year, that's 170 something properties that are no longer distressed. So that's a pretty large change. And you have to, if you want to continue to do wholesale and you want to continue to grow, you have to change what you're looking at. So absolutely drive for dollars.
Got it.
Absolutely.
So we talked about looking for rundown houses. We looked at making offers on expired listings on the MLS or Zillow. And we talked about getting a list of vacant properties. Are there any other strategies that you guys have used to generate leads in your business now that you've been around since 2019?
We'll go back to 2019. We were actually at the We Live, Max Maxwell We Live conference, and the phone was blowing up. Like, this was that moment I had found List Engine, and I pulled this list and just dropped a bunch of postcards. And then I'm at this conference, the phone's, so I'm on a break, listening through voicemails, and I've got one that one of the first ones that was on the phone, I call it back, and I'm talking to the guy. He's like, I'll just $1,000, you can have the house. I'm like, well, I'll be back in a couple days and I want to look at it. So I go and look at it. He didn't even meet me there. He's just like, go walk through it yourself. So I walk through it, and I'm just so excited that like $1,000, it's like, deal, I'll take it. Little did I know what it was going to become. I couldn't assign it. I walked like 3 or 4 people through there, and everybody's like, nope, this needs to be bulldozed. I could not find somebody, but I knew that my journey, the plan for my journey included buying properties myself. Mm-hmm. We had an influx of cash doing these wholesale deals.
How many had you done by that time?
This would have been February. So by then we had probably done like 8 deals.
Okay. And the average was maybe like $8,000 type of a assignment fee for each one?
Between 5 and 10. It was at the very beginning, our wholesale assignment fees were pretty low because we did not know. I got lucky on that first one at $8,500.
Yeah.
But then I really did not know what to expect consistently.
And that's okay. I think the best part about the story is that you took action so quickly.
Yeah, you have to.
And that gave you energy to keep going. It didn't need to be a home run deal. Right. But $8,000 is great in a city like St. Joe, right? Because you didn't spend $8,000 to get the deal, right? You didn't spend $8,000 on direct mail to get that deal. You spent much less, right? Like how many properties do you think that you added in order to get a deal?
In that first 30 days, I had to add 250 properties.
Okay. I think that aligns with what I've seen too. Running DealMachine, right? Which is, you've been talking about List Engine. We call it List Builder now. I don't think we told you. But it's a part of the app that lets you get that data so that you can send direct mail to them. Again, also through the app. But we started out with just the Driving for Dollars tool that let you pin the house, see who owns it, send direct mail to them, repeat that so you don't forget. And we found that typically people have to add about 300 distressed properties and contact them 6 times each to get a deal. Now, you didn't even contact them 6 times each. You found a deal a bit earlier, which is amazing, 100% amazing. Awesome. But just to set expectations for somebody who might be trying this, and in my advice would be like, hey, every 3 weeks that you didn't hear back from, maybe reach out to them again with another postcard or maybe a call.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.